Khuda Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum. You're on air. This is Ishan Isaac with Zishan on air, and this is the program live on various platforms. I just wanted to make sure that I'm also live on Instagram. So thanks for joining me, and we have lots to cover. First of all, a very happy birthday, 250th birthday to the United States of America. Today is the day after the 4th of July, and there were a lot of fireworks, various fireworks in many different cities, major cities in the US, as well as some drone shows that were also going viral, some of those videos. This was also a historic week in terms of some of the key decisions from the final week of the term, include especially birthright citizenship. Trump versus Barbara ruled, the US Supreme Court ruled the Constitution guarantees citizenship to children born on US soil, even if their parents are unlawfully or temporarily present in the country. Imagine. So, what person or which person from any ethnicities or any countries who has migrated to the United States of America, what country in the world offers this kind of privilege? It's a privilege. When you are born on this soil, regardless of your status, this is your destiny. You would be lucky. Those who are born here, they're lucky. Those who are not born here, obviously, it was not in their destiny, let's put it that way. Because someone is born, let's say, in a very troubled part of the world, unfortunately, that's the card or situation that that person has to play with for the rest of his or her life. Transgender athletes, West Virginia versus BPJ upheld West Virginia and Idaho laws deciding that Title IX allows schools to define women's and girls' sports teams by biological sex. That was a second landmark decision. Campaign finance, National Republican Senatorial Committee versus FEC struck down the Federal Election Campaign Act's limits on political parties' coordinated expenditures, citing First Amendment protections. And then presidential power, this was another big one. Trump versus Cook held that the president must provide notice and an opportunity to respond before attempting to fire a governor of the Federal Reserve, such as Lisa Cook. So the U.S. Supreme Court, the divided Supreme Court's birthright citizenship decision exposes sharp rift among justices. Yes, Chief Justice John Roberts, he basically said, and I quote, "Citizenship then and now was right to have rights, to freely participate in our political community. The framers of the 14th Amendment extended that promise to every free-born person in this land." End of quote. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote for the court, citing congressional debate over the amendment, quote, "We keep that promise today," unquote. Quote, "We break no new ground today," unquote. Roberts said on the bench as he read the court's majority opinion. That's why the rule of law, this country is all about the rule of law, and no one is above the law. And then also, at the end of the day, we are the nation of laws. Justice Clarence Thomas, he actually said, and he has a dissent opinion, and he basically said the basis of his argument as being reported, among other things, is that the court ignored evidence from Reconstruction debates that suggested citizenship depended on a deeper relationship in the country after the Civil War. The U.S. underwent a series of political and constitutional battles, and over how to define the civil rights and citizenship status over formerly enslaved Black Americans. And he, continued with this argument, especially about Black Americans. And then it's quoted, "The citizenship clause was enacted for people who were born in this country and called it home. It was enacted for freed slaves such as Dred Scott, who had a domicile here and therefore were entitled to sue as citizens," unquote. Thomas wrote in his dissent, concluding that Reconstruction was a targeted remedy for freed slaves to restore citizenship to a wrongfully excluded group. And he further said, quote, "In my view, the citizenship order is not facially unconstitutional," unquote, Thomas wrote. And then he further said, quote, "The order," which was the executive order from Trump, quote, "The order is consistent with the original meaning of the citizenship clause, at least insofar as it applies to children born to parents here lawfully or unlawfully, who who are not domiciled in the United States, unquote. Now, that's Justice Clarence Thomas. Who is surprised? I don't think anyone is surprised who has been following Justice Thomas Clarence. Now, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, she said agreed with the opinion in full, which was obviously that birthright citizenship cannot be ended, but wrote to respond to Clarence Thomas' dissent, arguing that Thomas fundamentally misunderstands what the Reconstruction Amendments, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, are trying to accomplish. She said, quote, despite his long-standing endorsement of a color-blind constitution, Justice Thomas now surprisingly suggests that the citizenship clause was a race-conscious remedial measure relating only to freed slaves such as Dred Scott, but that narrow vision of the 14th Amendment bears little relationship to the history of its ratification. End of quote. She further said, quote, the Reconstruction Amendments were an anti-caste, anti-subordination reset for the nation, not a mere spot treatment for the dark stain of slavery, and end of quote. And further, she said that the quote, the court's conception of a colorblind constitution and the government's and principal dissents cramped group-specific reading of the citizenship clause are two sides of the same coin, stemming from a basic misunderstanding of the relevant history, end of quote. What a beautiful response. That's all I'm going to say on that particular opinion of Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, especially on Justice Clarence Thomas. And that's where it's all about having an independent mind, having an independent thought, and also not taking sides in terms of how these important debates have been shaping up, especially because President Trump, he wanted to end birthright citizenship. So that has been struck down, and the Supreme Court has ruled, and that's now the law of the land. Well, it was already the law of the land, but unfortunately it was challenged by the president of the executive branch. USA Today has reported Trump's biggest wins and losses Supreme Court, from sports to citizenship. So that's basically where it was, reported, and you can read more. There were various rulings, obviously, and Kavanaugh joined the 5-4 majority to side against Trump at the Fed. Imagine that. He was also appointed by the Trump. So even his appointees are scratching their heads that what kind of cases that they are getting. Courts lets Carroll verdict stand in shock to Trump. Before the court handed down opinions, it handed Trump a loss by declining to take up a case. The justice turned away the president's bid to overturn a jury's $5 million verdict, finding him liable of sexually abusing and defaming writer Jean Carroll, who accused Trump of assaulting her in the mid-1990s. Trump denies her story. So that was another one. And then Roberts rules for or against Trump in a day, and you can read more about it. NBC News has reported Supreme Court allows states to count mail-in ballots that arrive late, rejecting RNC challenge. So Republicans are on the wrong side of the history all along. No matter how Republican you have been for decades, the United States Supreme Court has ruled that as well against it. Now, some people obviously will question even the patriotism of the Supreme Court justices, which is a shame. And I don't want to go there. And there's more in terms of the decision, obviously, avoids an election year upheaval of the state election laws and things like that. And obviously, Trump losses big on mail-in ballots. Trump justices emerge as deciding votes. And then the Mississippi laws allows mail-in ballots to be counted up to 5 days after election day, as long as they were sent beforehand. And this was the rejection of the Republican National Committee challenge. Let that sink in. Majority expansion of presidential power, that happens, the 6-3 decision allowing Trump to fire Federal Trade Commission member Rebecca Slaughter marks a major expansion of the president's firing power. So that was Trump himself calling it, that this is the greatest increase in presidential power in a century. So he got that one. And then in terms of international news, U.S., Iran latest, Tehran enters second day of massive funeral for slain Supreme Leader Khamenei, and you can see some of the pictures on social media, and I'm showing it on the screen as reported by the Washington Post. And here is by this huge throngs mourn assassinated Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. It was also a show of mourning and also defiance and also unity that Iran has shown, especially for their country. and for their leader. The funeral of Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. Some more pictures there. And Iran prepares for days-long funeral for late Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, killed in war. And then Iran begins, as reported by Associated Press, days-long funeral for Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, killed in war. And you can see hundreds and thousands, millions of people. They're estimating 15 to 20 million people attending this funeral. With that, I'm going to talk about our great advertiser sponsors, especially Affordable Insurance of Texas. Without them, this program cannot continue. So I would like to thank them. Affordable Insurance of Texas, they've been in business for decades, and they have integrity, they have honesty. They also have these insurance premiums at a very low rate. You can just call them for auto insurance, for homeowners insurance, for commercial insurance, business insurance, for health insurance, just name it. And if you bundle homeowners insurance with auto insurance, you will even save more. So call 713-785-4000, 713-785-4000. That's their number. They've been in business for decades with integrity. Affordable Insurance of Texas. Their web address is www.aitinsurance.com. One word, aitinsurance.com. 713-785-4000. Affordable Insurance of Texas. Also, I would like to thank our great advisor sponsor, Group Saudi Palace. They have 1,000 square footage. New shipments have arrived for men, for women, for grooms, for brides, for men and women, and for children of all age groups. They are at Hillcroft, 1,000 square footage showroom for women, even a separate showroom for men. Their phone number for virtual video tour, you can schedule it 832-267-0065, 832-267-0065. Their phone number to schedule a virtual video tour, and online you can go and see beautiful dresses and clothing lineup. Groupsaudi.com. That's ROOPSARI, www.groupsaudi.com. And also, I would like to thank our advertiser, Chennai Restaurant Catering, our sponsor advertiser. They have been in business for over 25 years, and they have a lunch buffet going on only for $10.99, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Mention Zishan on air. Many items, $15 deals, $25 deals, $35 deals, 7 days a week. And then also, all-you-can-eat buffet Monday to Friday, vegetarian $12.99, non-veg $14.99, takeout for $7.99 per pound, and catering discount specials. On top of that, Muharram, in this month, they have some more specials, starting from $3.99, $4.99, $5.99 to $69.99, $79.99, $89.99, and over for different party trays, from 50 to 100 people and 100 to 150 people. For that, just call them, mention my name, Zishan, say Zishan on air has sent you, and take advantage of these offers at the restaurant, also for takeout or dining or for catering. That's Chennai Restaurant Catering. Call Mr. Shahid Ali or his team, 713-953-1388. 713-953-1388. With that, I'm going to sign off, continue with the Big Baller Sports. Thank you.